Who is the leader of the Democratic Party right now?
Well, President Obama was the president of the United States until just a matter of weeks ago. I don't think that he can be dismissed as the leader of the Democratic Party. Hillary Clinton did not win the election, but a respected leader. But we have leaders for all different aspects of it. The Democratic Party is a congressional party, and we have leaders in Congress. It is a gubernatorial party, and
but on the state level, it is a party which has suffered tremendous losses in the last couple of years.
It has, but we have a plan to address that.
What's it say?
Well, it says, I love it when a plan comes together.
Hold it now.
Researchers at Oxford University published a study of nearly 20 million tweets about the election that were sent over the last week of the presidential contest. And those researchers at Oxford determined that out of all the traffic on Twitter about the U.S. election during that time, bots produced nearly 20% of it. During the debates, over a quarter of all election-related Twitter traffic came from these malicious bots. And the bot traffic was almost entirely pro-Donald Trump. And some of that dynamic was visible at the time. But now we are starting to be able to put it together in terms of how Russia used that particular weapon to basically eat American political discourse during our election, or at least eat or render useless a big portion of it. And now that the FBI has confirmed that the Trump campaign is the subject of a counterintelligence investigation concerning them possibly cooperating with Russia during Russia's attack on our election, now we can put it together in terms of the timeline here. Right? As we get closer to answering the question of whether or not Russia had help, whether they had Confederates inside the Trump campaign when they launched this attack, the timeline is getting really clear now and really interesting in terms of finally getting this thing understood.
The key culprit in this is the resistance. We may have just heard the most carefully crafted sentence structure in American political history, and that sentence structure has condemned Donald John Trump. According to its director, the FBI is, quote, investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Not possible links, not if there were links, links. Any links, period. The FBI's investigation is about the nature of the links. Director Comey used a caveat a minute at that hearing. He made no such disclaimers about links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government. To him, under oath, in front of Congress, they exist.
James Clapper has said publicly that when he left, he was not aware of any conclusive intelligence related to collusion between Trump campaign officials and Russians prior to January 20th. He said he's not aware of anything after January 20th. Do you believe that there really is fire there? I mean, there's a lot of smoke, but
yes.
So far, according to Clapper, there's no fire.
Well, no. First of all, two things about Clapper. He left 2.5 months ago. So,
though the investigation had been going on, apparently now we know.
Yeah, but the investigation has continued now. B, the way it works in intelligence, and this is where I was forged in the Congress in intelligence, is information might go from the CIA to the FBI or the FBI to CIA without going to the Director of National Intelligence. So he might not have known. But I wouldn't place a whole lot of weight on that. The fact is, you have to have an investigation, and there is reason to believe that there should be an investigation. The director mentioned that yesterday.
Do you know whether Director Clapper knew the name of the U.S. citizen that appeared in the New York Times and Washington Post?
I can't say in this forum because, again, I don't want to confirm that there was classified information in the newspaper.
Would he have access to an unmasked name?
In some circumstances, sure.
Would Director Brennan have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
In some circumstances, yes.
Would former White House advisor Ben Rhodes have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
I don't know the answer to that.
Could you find out? South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy is joining us right now from Washington. He's a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which is why he got in the door with his special pass and was able to ask those questions. Congressman, why were you running down those lists of Obama officials?
Well, I started, Brian, with the NSA and the testimony was there were 20 folks there. And in a previous conversation with Director Comey, not yesterday, we identified the universe of people at the FBI. So I'm trying to find that discrete universe of people who had access to the name. You and I are not on that list. So that will save the FBI the trouble of coming and interviewing you and interviewing me. But I'm trying to help the public and Director Comey kind of narrow down the universe of people who would have had access to the information to then leak it.
When he came out and made his initial, after you guys made your speeches, after Devin Nunes came out and Congressman Schiff came out and made their opening remarks, he was asked, you know, why, basically, what are your remarks? I want to confirm that there's an investigation going on to the role of Russia in the last election and any type of relationship with the Trump organization. Was that new news to you?
It was not. It should not have been new news to anyone on House Intel. Again, the beauty of Intel is we do our work behind closed doors, and you have access to information that perhaps other members don't have. You just can't talk about it. So that was not a surprise to me.
So what did we learn from yesterday? What did Trey Gowdy, the prosecutor, learn from yesterday?
I learned it's really tough to run serious quasi-criminal or criminal investigations in a public setting, which is why it's never done, except in Washington. I think the most troubling part for me was when Director Comey would not assure us that there's a leak investigation. He was more than happy to assure us that there's an investigation into the potential ties between the Trump campaign and Russia, which may or may not be a crime. Leaking classified information is a crime, but he would not confirm that investigation.
It's times like this when I just can't stop. Can't wind your body without the body rock.
Do you realize that we learned absolutely nothing? There used to be an expression in the 60s that says, what if they gave a war and nobody came? Well, what if they had a congressional hearing and nothing was learned? I've heard of fake news. Now fake news meets fake hearing, fake government. What was that? It was a very simple thing. Let me recap. Number one, Mr. Comey, Mr. Rogers, do you have any information that Russia had anything to do with hacking the election? Not swaying the election. What does that even mean? Swaying. If I'm going to fix an election, I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to sway it. What does sway mean? So question number one, any evidence? Nope. That's it. Everybody go home. I don't even know what it was. I don't know what that was about. It was laughable. It was horrible. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't believe in torture, but if ever there's an alternative to waterboarding, may I suggest making somebody watch that interminable hearing?